So, hello and welcome back yet again to another week of exploring Azeroth, the Eastern Kingdoms. We are again this week with Onyx and not Beryl, who is in the picture on the thumbnail, but hey, forgive me for that one. But it's just a lot easier to explore the Horde area with a Horde character. This week we're going to explore in the Ghostlands, which honestly there's not a lot in the hidden aspects of the Ghostlands, but it is an interesting place, and so we're just going to run around and be touristy. And there's not really much in the way of housing, which is probably why I don't hang out here a lot. There's a lot of ruined houses, and there's a lot of interesting historical things. So, we are going to go ahead and jump into the game with Onyx, who is all queued up. And if you remember, we left her just outside of the Ghostlands. And yeah, let's go ahead and just jump in. Alright, so here we are with Onyx, right where we left her, in the in the entry to the Ghostlands, where yeah, we're going to leave Eversong Woods, which is, as you can see, except for the dead scar that goes down the middle of it, quite a beautiful, kind of in a perpetual springtime place. And we are going to cross the river here, and as you can see, the land is definitely going to be changing. So here we are. We are going to stop about halfway across on the Elendar crossing and take one last look back over into the beautiful Eversong Woods, where magic has kept it in a perpetual spring and obviously has not been quite as successful here. Now, the Dead Scar, which goes right down the middle of Eversong Woods, also runs right down the middle of the Ghostlands. Look at it, you can see it down there, just sort of ripping the land in half, so even the little bits of greenery and life that's in the Ghostlands is not really all that prominent, although better than it is in the Dead Scar. Now, the very first village that you get sent to is Tranquillin. It's an interesting little village. You can see that at one point it probably was all elf, but now, if you go in and look around, there's quite a strong undead presence, and that was due to Sylvanas, who, during the last big war, became an undead banshee, and all of the undead in the Horde sort of followed, according to current events, her lead. I think they've pretty much broken away from her now because she went a little bit off the deep end there. But back when this area was added back in the Burning Crusade, she was still the leader of the undead, and she is what convinced the Blood Elves to align with the Horde. One interesting thing in here that I find kind of hilarious is this Death Stalker Maltendes has a bit of a crush on this elf over here, Advisor Valwyn. And if you hang around for just a little while, you can watch him kind of flirting with her, and she does not seem to reciprocate his advances at all. She seems just a little bit put off by him. And I think they do it every 4 or 5 minutes, which is kind of the loop that World of Warcraft NPCs are on. About every 4 or 5 minutes, they go ahead and do whatever it is that they're programmed to do. And of course, they're not going to be doing it right now because I'm standing here and would like them to. But it's kind of It's kind of funny. So if you're ever in this area, hang out and watch them for a little while. Alright, now we're going to take a look at the map here and decide how exactly we want to do this. I think what we're going to do is head up here to the Golden Mist village first, and then we'll go across to the other village across the way. We will check out the Sungraze Peak and a couple other things, and then I'm going to show you the raid entrance, or the dungeon entrance, that is in this area, and then that'll probably be about it. I was going to do a big history lesson on the Ghostlands, but then I realized I'm not as familiar with all of the history as I possibly should be, and B, if I haven't given you history lessons on every other area, it would seem kinda silly. So like I said, we're just mostly going to be pretending to be tourists, although I'm not sure who exactly would want to tour this area. It seems a bit on the dangerous side. Now we're going to cross the I cannot say that word. Elendar River, and we're going to approach the Golden Mist village here. The interesting thing about this village is it's populated entirely by ghosts, and they are quite hostile to you. I'm not exactly sure why, because it's been a while since I've done this quest, but these ghosts of various and sundry blood elves are not all that fond of you, and they will completely kill you if you're a low level. I'm not a low level, so all they do is die when I kind of look at them crosswise, but you know, if you are in this area at level, this can be a kind of tricky fight. You go a little bit further from there, and come across these murlocs, except they're zombies, because everything in this area is a bit on the ick side. So not even the poor murlocs are doing alright in the Ghostlands. One interesting thing if you come here as an Alliance player is this area that Onyx is heading to now is actually friendly to you. This is Shandis Isle, and it is an enclave of night elves, which are the other race of elves which are over on the Alliance side of things. But if you come here as a Horde player, you are going to have to fight your way through all of these various and sundry elves. Unfortunately, their ship is not anything more than just set dressing. Some ships in World of Warcraft you can actually go in and explore. I think I mentioned one next week, which is far, far in the future. I mean, it's going to be a very long time before I can show it to you, but it is there. There's a couple other areas that I found with ships that you can go in and kind of explore and just kind of pretend that you're a sea captain. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, we are going to run up here now that we have checked out Golden Mist Village and this enclave of zombie murlocs. And we are going to run up here, go up past Tranquillin again, but along the way we're going to hit the Sanctum of the Moon. And there is a Sanctum of the Sun here in the Ghostlands as well. You have to be very careful when you are doing this, especially again at level, because there are two elite enemies that kind of prowl around the Dead Scar and these sanctums and things, and they can hurt you pretty bad. You definitely want friends if you are going to be taking them down at level. They're big, kind of nasty abominations, but this is just the Sanctum of the Moon, where you have to clean up all of these arcane magic remnants. So now we are going to head back across here. There's one other kind of interesting little bit that is up near Suncrown Village, which is another kind of decimated village. The only actual village in the Ghostlands is Tranquillin. That's really the only actual village where you can stay at an inn, etc. Everything else in the Ghostlands has been completely messed up. Now here's another Night Elf enclave. They are definitely all over and they are considered spies. But if you are an Alliance player, they're definitely not spies. They're your buddies. It's kind of an interesting little way to go. I don't really feel like killing her, so I'm not going to. Because we are heading up now to the Suncrown Village, which features enemies that you won't see again really until you get up into Northrend and the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. And that's these Nerubians. They're sort of a insect race. They're really an interesting design choice. They're a little bit praying mantis, a little bit undead, a little bit, they're a little buggy. And they have completely infested this Suncrown village. You can see one of them right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. They're interesting. I don't think I'd want to meet one on a dark and stormy night if I wasn't about 30 levels above it. There's also an elite one that patrols around. There he is. And he has his own name, and he does give you a little bit more interesting loot when and if you kill him. So we're gonna go through here. Since, like I said before, I'm not questing or anything, I am touring. And we're gonna go a little deeper into the Ghostlands to this nifty little campsite that is on this very, very haunted lake. Now there's a whole lot of things that you have to do at the bottom of this lake for the Farce Riders, which are kind of like the rangers. And it's kind of interesting. It's one of those things where you can kind of see all of the neat assets that the Blizzard team puts into underwater things. Obviously this is a representation of a Naga, which is a little bit mermaidy. Like if you're not a World of Warcraft player, kind of think very evil mermaids, kind of mixed with a snake a little bit. They're an interesting race. But up here is another questing area, kind of a quest hub, and that's the Farce Rider Enclave, and also over in this little nook in the hills is a troll enclave. And it's kind of interesting, at the bottom of this Amani catacomb, there is a captured a captured blood elf that you can so choose to rescue and do one of the very old escort quests, which will probably set your teeth on edge and make you very, very annoyed. Not gonna lie, old escort quests are terrible. It's really hard to get your person to follow you, and so a lot of times I just skip them because the AI is terrible. Here we have another little troll village. Again, even though there are trolls that are playable on the Horde side of World of Warcraft, these trolls are definitely enemies. So we're gonna go ahead and leave our trolls and head on out and see what else we can see. The one thing I really do like about the troll stuff is all of the really cool architecture. You can see that they were definitely pulling from like Aztec or Mayan culture, and it's kind neat. Alright, we're going to head up into the hills to one more little night elf enclave. Which again, if you come here as an alliance player, none of this stuff is hostile to you. Everything else is hostile to you, but none of the little night elf enclaves are, and I probably can't find it. I know it's in these hills here somewhere. I think it's around here somewhere. I'm not going to spend all of my time looking for it, but it's there. If you do questing in this area, it definitely sends you to all of these various and sundry things. Now we are going to come up here to the Sanctum of the Sun, which is another little questing area. And again, it's just another ruined, unfortunately can't be counted as a house. There's no seating and no bed, so all you can do is come in here and gaze sadly at the ruined books and various things like that. Too bad. But you can go along and kind of look at all of the stuff, which, you know, the part of me that really loves exploring kind of loves all of the little touches that are everywhere, but the part of me that wants player housing is just sort of a little bit on the pouty side about the whole thing. Alright, our next little thing that we're going to come up to is I think it's called the Andelin Estate, which it's not much of an estate, again, kind of just stuck here in ruins. You can see, looks like the Andelin family probably took off at a high rate of speed and didn't leave a whole heck of a lot behind them, unfortunately. Our next area of note is going to be up here, and it's the Twin Ziggernauts. It is where you usually run across, what are their names? It's Luzon and can't remember the other one's name. The big abominations that will, there it is, Knucklerot and Luceron. Now, if you are at their level, which is level 30 or below, they'll be a fight for you. Like, maybe not impossible, but they will definitely be troublesome. But they're usually patrolling right here in the Dead Scar, between the Sanctum of the Moon and the Sanctum of the Sun, and the Twin Ziggernauts, which we will go up now. Now that they've gone by, we're going to head up and just check out one of the Ziggernauts. They're all pretty much about the same, but it's the Bleeding and the Howling Ziggernaut. They're kind of cool looking, though. And now, we're going to run over here to yet another ruined village. Unfortunately, this one is named after the Windrunner family, which is what Sylvanas' family name is. And even her village is completely messed up. Unfortunately. I say unfortunately way too much, don't I? Anyway, you've got a lot more just spiders and gargoyles and all sorts of just wonderful specters, icky things all over here. One good thing about all of this, though, is they do give some pretty good loot when you're at level. And then up here you have another little house. You can always just kind of pretend that maybe it was Sylvanas' house. Just kill that thing, he's kind of in the way. But yeah, you've got another little house up here. Again, not much of a house. It's been completely decimated, unfortunately. And then you have up at the top, just outside of the village, sort of this neat little Windrunner spire. One interesting thing with this is it does have a relevant quest chain when you're at a higher level, which is to get your Blood Elf Heritage Armor, which is a new thing that they added in. That's kind of cool. And the quest is, it's a pretty good long quest. Another thing that will send Alliance players up here into the Ghostlands is when you want to unlock the Void Elves, which is what Beryl is, you actually have to come and find them because they're in sort of this weird temporal bubble up here in the Ghostlands. There's a whole big long story that goes along with that too. I think I say that far too often, but yeah. If you really want to get into the backstory and the lore of World of Warcraft, probably need to sit down and take about 14 to 16 hours, I would say. It's a lot. One good place to actually go back and learn a lot of the different lore, there's a YouTube channel called Noble. It's Nobbel, possibly two L's. And he goes in and he does deep dives on all of the different lore aspects in pretty much every zone, every interesting thing in World of Warcraft. He deep dives. He also has a really cool voice. I think he's from someplace Scandinavian, and he has a really interesting accent that's a lot of fun to listen to. So if I remember, I will try to link his channel somewhere. And if you are interested in World of Warcraft stuff and don't know about him already, definitely give him a watch. Now, up here is Deathholm. It is again kind of overrun by the Nerubians, and as befitting someplace called Deathholm, it's a little yucky looking. There's a big old bad guy that's in this Zuggernaut up here that you have to take out, and that pretty much caps off the zone for you. Once you get him taken care of, you're pretty much ready to move on and head to your next area. There are two more things that are of interest that we are going to check out before we leave this, though. So, if you look up here, you'll see this Zolomon, and that is where we are heading next. Alright, our last couple little things to check out here. One of them is right up ahead. If you go by these two troll villages and kind of run up in between them, you are going to approach the Amani Pass. And this is a really pretty area, even if you don't want to go in and go to the dungeon that's up here. It is so worthwhile to kind of just check it out because it's very interesting. It also holds another flight point, which is always a good thing to have. But if you come up here, the trolls and the blood elves have kind of gotten together, and it's a very uneasy alliance, but they're going to take out this dungeon together is the whole idea. Also, I just got a call out from my son who kind of asked me if I was pronouncing Ziggurat incorrectly, which I was. I was calling it Ziggernaut, so thanks to my son for pointing that out to me. I am notorious for adding letters where there are none. But that is neither here nor there. Now, even this troll village is looking just a little bit on the burned out side. You go in and look around. It kind of looks like maybe they got just a little bit decimated. But you have all your blood elves here. They have all their tents set up, and that is all well and good for them. It's also kind of neat because you can just kind of go out and look over everything, and it's just really kind of pretty. And this side I can't do it on. I did it on the other side, I guess. I also kind of clipped through a wall not too long ago, which it didn't lead anywhere interesting, unfortunately, but I did clip through the wall, which was kind of funny. But yeah, this is just kind of a good place to sit out and look over all of the Ghostlands spread out below you. My son also informed me that although I haven't checked on his channel in a while, Noble might not have too many new WoW videos because he's been a little bit upset with the developers of World of Warcraft and Blizzard because they keep changing the lore, which is a valid call out. It makes it really hard to keep up with the lore when they keep changing it. But if you go up here, you have this big old dungeon, and it's a pretty fun little dungeon. We're not going to go in and do it today, but if you ever are interested in seeing that, let me know. We can do some dungeon runs or something. But something I didn't realize until I was exploring around here earlier is you can kind of go back here and look at some more of these interesting little pictures in the walls, all the little cobwebby rooms, and it's just kind of a neat place if you're ever looking for something to just hang out and do a little bit of adventure roleplay, I guess. It would be a good spot to do it. You could definitely fulfill your Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom desire to be indie around here. Could be fun. Alright, we're gonna go head out of here though, now that we have gone and looked at Zolaman. There's, again, unfortunately, no actual houses in the Ghostlands. Trust me, I've looked and looked and looked. But there is just one other spot, and that is the Thalassian Pass, which I'm probably saying that wrong. But it's the way to the Eastern Plaguelands. And in a lot of ways, it's an interesting little area all by itself. So we're going to poke around in it a little bit. And then that is where we are going to leave for today. As always, if you know of anything that I missed in this area, please leave it in the comments down below because I always feel like there should be more here. And maybe that's just my desire for more here, but I always feel like there should be some secret somewhere that I'm just not seeing. So, if you know of any secrets or secret areas or anything along those lines, leave them in the comments below. I think once we finish up the Eastern Kingdoms, there will probably be one more video in the Eastern Kingdoms just of anything that I've missed, since I've already discovered a few things that I've missed in everything so far. But yeah, we're going to run up here to the Thalassian Pass. And this is where the big gate that leads to the rest of the Eastern Kingdoms is. There's not a lot, like, special about it, per se, but there is this really interesting little area. Kind of looks like there might have been a little bit of a battle here. That also kind of looks like a gnome skull. So you gotta kind of wonder what was going on there. But yeah, just run up here, check it out. Another little possibly gnome skull. It doesn't look like a human skull. It definitely looks like something smaller. So I am gonna just say that that's probably a gnome's. But you can just run up here. And then one interesting thing is when this whole area was added in the Burning Crusade, in that expansion, it was actually tied in with Outland, and supposedly that is the reason that you cannot fly here, even though you can fly in the rest of Eastern Kingdoms, is because this is actually technically in the Outland map. So, not sure if that's true or not, and not sure why you can't fly here when you can actually fly in Outland. So again, if you know anything about that, leave that in the comments below. But other than that, that is where I am going to leave you for today. We will be rejoining Beryl next week as we move into the Eastern Plaguelands. And yeah, leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. I will try to remember to link Noble's channel if you want to watch any of his lore videos. They're actually really, really, really good. But other than that, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.